Right now, this second, there is a decent probability that you will be wearing a chemical that the European Union has been banned because it was found to damage the human fertility. Not some obscure industrial solvent or a pesticide. It may be in your soap, in your deodorant, or maybe in your shampoo. And the wildest part, it probably not even listed by its real name on its ingredient list on the label. It's hiding behind one word, fragrance. And today, we are going to pull that word apart because what's inside it has a story that goes back to 1946, which has been linked to one of the world's most commercial industries, 15 years of ignored science, and a molecule so perfectly designed to fool your own body that your own hormones can't even tell the difference. The chemical in your soap that silently rewired your entire hormone systems. Segment 2, the mystery ingredient. Here is something that nobody knows. When a cosmetic company writes the word fragrance or parfum on an ingredient list, that single word can legally represent dozens, sometimes hundreds of individual chemicals. It is called a trade secret loophole. And the logic was if the companies had to reveal their exact fragrance formula, the competitors would copy it. So regulators said, fine, just write fragrance. You don't have to discuss what's in it. Makes business sense, isn't it? Except here is a problem. One of those hidden chemicals used for over 60 years in billions of people's products turned out to have quietly messing with the human endocrine system the entire time. The chemical is called butyl phenyl methyl propanol and its trade name is Lilial. Scientists called it para BMHCA, PBMHCA. Whatever you call it, its story is one of the most fascinating and unsettling in the history of consumer chemistry. And to understand why, we need to go back, all the way back to the lab in New Jersey, 1946. Segment 3, The Birth of Lilial, a 1915s trim. After World War II, the fragrance industry was booming. The middle class was growing, consumer cultures were exploding, and everyone, literally everyone, wanted to smell like money. And the problem was that most coveted scents in the world came from nature. Lily of the valley, that delicate white bell shaped flower you might recognize from the wedding bouquet, and one of the most beloved scents in all of the perfumery. Soft, fresh, floral, romantic. But extracting the scent from lily of the valley flowers practically impossible at scale. The flowers produce almost no extractable essential oil. So you couldn't bottle nature. So perfumers have to create nature in the lab. For nearly a decade, a carpenter worked on synthesizing the feelings of lily of the valley from scratch, but copying a molecule from nature, but building something new, something way better, something that smelled even more intensely floral than real thing. His approach was elegant. And he said, with benzene, the iconic ring shaped molecule at the foundation of organic chemistry, and through a series of reactions, attached a tertiary butyl group on one side and a methyl propanol chain carrying an aldehyde group on the other. The result was a molecule shaped something like this: carbon 14, hydrogen 20, oxygen 1, and aromatic aldehyde, molecular formula C14H20O. When the carpenter smelled it, he reportedly knew he had something special. That floral, powdery, faintly spicy scent, it was so perfect. Better than hydroxycitronellal, cheaper to make than anything else on the market, and incredibly stable, meaning it wouldn't break down in your soap or lotion the way natural extract did. On June 11, 1956, Giveiden filed the patent. They named it simply Lilial. And then, like almost every great scientist discovery, it becomes something much bigger than anyone intended. Within a decade, Lilial was in everything: soap, shampoo, lotion, deodorant, laundry detergent, floor cleaners, fabric softeners, air fresheners, and Givadian reported it become their highest grossing product by volume and value. By the peak of its use, the fragrance industry was consuming an estimated 15,000 tons of Lilial every single year. Think about it: 15,000 tons? That's the weight of about 100,000 mid sized cars of one chemical being put into consumer product every single year. Segment 4: The chemistry lesson. Let's talk about why this molecule does what it does. Both why it smells the way it smells and why it causes the damage it causes. Because the two things are connected in a real non-obvious way. BMHCA is an aromatic aldehyde. Let me break that down. Aromatic doesn't mean smells nice in chemistry. It refers to a molecule containing a benzene ring, six carbon atoms arranged in a hexagon with alternative bonds, incredibly stable, found in everything from gasoline to the aspirin to DNA bases. The aldehyde part is a reactive group at the end of the molecule. A carbon atom double bonded to an oxygen. Aldehyde are chemically reactive. They are the part of molecule that your nose detects at that sharp, bright floral note. And they are also the part that starts interacting with your biology. Here is where it gets biologically interactive. BMHCA has what scientists call a chiral center, meaning the molecule exits in two mirror image versions called enantiomers. Imagine your left and your right hand, same atom, same connection, but the mirror image that can be superimposed on each other. BMHCA's two versions are called R enantiomer and S enantiomer. Only the R enantiomer actually smells floral, and the S enantiomer is essentially odorless. But industrially, BMHCA is produced as a racemic mixture, meaning a 50 by 50 blend of both, because separating them would be too expensive. So, half the BMHCA you were exposed to did nothing for the fragrance. It was just in your body doing other things. And here is a crucial finding that changed everything. In 2009, researchers studying cosmetic ingredients discovered something alarming. BMHCA was producing an estrogenic response in human breast cancer cells in a lab dish. Estrogenic response means the chemical was acting like the female hormone estrogen, not because it is estrogen, its structure is completely different, but because your body's estrogen receptors are sophisticated protein logs, and BMHCA happened to be shaped just enough like the key to fit inside. This is called endocrine disruption. Your endocrine system is the body's hormone signaling network. It controls reproduction, development, metabolism, mood, immune function. When a foreign chemical binds to the hormone receptors, it can either trigger signal that shouldn't fire or block signal that should. For a reproductive toxicant like BMHCA, the concern is that over years of chronic low level exposure, rubbing lotion on your skin every day, lathering shampoo in your scalp, wearing deodorant, these signals could potentially interfere with fertility, fetal development, or hormonal balance. And that wasn't only mechanism. Separate researchers found that Lilial could also directly damage mitochondria, the energy factories inside every cell. Specifically, it was found to block the complexes 1 and 2 of the electron transport chain, the process by which your cells convert food into ATP, which is a form of energy, the chemical your body literally uses as a fuel for every function. Blocking this chain increases the production of reactive oxygen species, toxic free radicals that damage DNA and proteins. And it depletes intracellular ATP, essentially starving the cell of this energy it needs to survive. This is, in plain terms, cellular sabotage. Segment 5, the cover up timeline, 15 years of Stalin. Here is where the story becomes less about chemistry and more about power. Because the science showing BMHCA was dangerous didn't appear in 2022. It appeared much, much earlier. Let's talk through timeline because I think once you see it laid out, you will feel the same thing I felt when I first put this together. 2009, in vitro studies how BMHCA triggered the estrogenic activity in human cells. The finding is published, it raises concern, nobody bans anything, and the industry keeps using 15,000 tons a year. 2014, the EU Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety publishes an opinion. BMHCA is not safe even at the concentration limits set by the fragrance industry's own self-regulatory body. The EU restricted, meaning the product must label it if it's present above a tiny threshold, but they didn't ban the product containing it are still sold worldwide. 2017, the International Fragrance Association, the industry's own lobbying and standard body, submits a safety dossier to the EU Scientific Committee, essentially arguing yes, but at our proposed concentration limit, it's fine. The scientific committee reviews the evidence and says, no, not safe. The SCCS reject the exception. The industry tries again with its lower concentration. The answer is still no. 2019, the SCCS published a landmark 68-page opinion concluding that the use of Lilial in both rinse-off and leave-on cosmetic cannot be considered as safe. Not at any concentration. The science is clear. BMHCA is still on shelf worldwide. 2020, animal study confirmed. BMHCA is a CMR 1B substance. CMR stands for carcinogenic, mutagenic, or reproductive toxic. And the category 1B, the effect has been proven in both animal model with strong reason to believe the same applies to humans. The European Commission add this classification to its official chemical regulation. The ban clock start ticking. March 1, 2022, the EU ban finally takes effect. From this date, no cosmetic product sold in EU or UK may contain Lilial. Notice something from the first alarm bell in 2009 to the actual ban. 13 years. For 13 years, a chemical flagged as a potential reproductive toxicant was legally present in your daily personal care products, in your child shampoo, in your soap you lather on your body every morning. And it continues like India and in US, the large part of Asia and Africa, there is still no equivalent ban. Products containing Lilial can still be legally manufactured and sold today. Segment 6, the fragrance loophole explained. Let's come back to the word fragrance. In the United States, the FDA required cosmetics to list their ingredients, but grants an exception for fragrance formulas which are protected as a trade secret. In practice, this means that a single ingredient entry labeled fragrance can contain dozens of individual chemicals, none of which are disclosed to the consumer. The Environmental Working Group has catalogued over 3,500 unique chemicals. that has been used under the fragrance umbrella across the cosmetic industry. 3,500 chemical behind one word, fragrance. BMHCA was one of them. For decades, consumers who read ingredient labels carefully, who thought they were being diligent, still had no way of knowing it was in their product. In EU, before the ban, it was at least required to be disclosed by name when present above a certain concentration. That's how people began to notice it and raise the alarm. In many other countries, even that disclosure doesn't exist. This is the structural problem. It's not just Lilial. Lilial is most visible example of much deeper issue. The cosmetic industry in many parts of the world operate legally on the honor system with minimal pre-market safety testing and the loophole that make it almost impossible for the consumers to make informed decisions. The recall story, it's happening right now. And this is an ancient history. This is happening right now, maybe today. In August 2024, Nigeria's National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, recalled a batch of Dove Beauty Cream Bar soap after lab testing found it contained BMHCA, the same chemical, the same ban, still appearing in the product 2 years after the prohibition. In January 2026, just a month ago, two designers' perfumes sold in UK discount store were recalled by the Office for the Product Safety and Standard. Lionel Richie's Hello perfume and Hot by United Colors of Benetton. Both contained BMHCA and both were recalled. Customers were told to return them for a full refund. And in 2026, an Instagram video flagging the presence of BMHCA in the soap, still available in Indian market, accumulated over 3.5 million views in days because people are only now finding out about something that regulate in Europe flag over a decade ago. The bigger question here is what I keep thinking about. Lilial wasn't invented by villains. Maybe Marion Scott Carpenter in 1946 was trying to make the world smell better. Deodorants chemists were genuinely brilliant, building molecules that would mimic the beauty of nature at industrial scale. That's not evil, that's remarkable. Problem wasn't malice. The problem was a system that allowed a chemical to be used in billions of consumer products for 60 years with almost no pre-market safety testing on long-term human exposure and a regulatory framework with enough loophole that even the scientists found the problem it took 13 years to act to it. The deeper question, how many other BMHCAs are there? How many other molecules synthesized in the lab in 1950s, 60s, 70s are currently hiding behind the word fragrance in products on shelves right now in countries where nobody has bothered to check? Honestly, nobody knows. Because in much of the world, you don't have to prove a cosmetic ingredient is safe before putting it in a product. You only have to react after something goes wrong. So, what do you actually do with this information? Check your product right now, flip them over. If you see any of these names on the ingredient list, Lilial, BMHCA, butyl phenyl methyl propyol, Lysmeral, that product still containing the banned chemical. If you see the word fragrance or parfum with no further breakdown and you want to know what's inside it, the Environment Working Group's Skin Deep database at ewg.org let you look up thousands of products and see what's actually in them. Second, understand that this isn't about panicking over every bar of soap. One exposure doesn't rewrite your biology. And the concern with BMHCA was about aggregate chronic exposure. The accumulation of a hormone disrupting chemical across dozens of daily use products over years of decades. Third, and this is the most important one, push your regulations in your country. The EU and UK acted because their scientific committee were empowered to act and because consumer created pressure. India, the US, or many other major markets still don't have equivalent protections. The only thing that changes is the public awareness creating the political will. And maybe that's the most surprising thing about all of this. The molecule itself, C14H20O, isn't the villain. It's just chemistry. It doesn't have intentions. The story of Lilial is the story about what happens when the system we trust to protect us run 13 years behind science and about whether now that we know we will do anything different. Anyway, check yourself.